Okay. Girls in the army. This is the burning issue this week, and it actually exploded. So it's a very good, as I told you in advance when we started, that I'm not going to prepare a curriculum. I'm a prophet. I know that every week there'll be a scandal, so I don't need to prepare anything in advance. But it's really a big, it's the biggest issue now. So it's an opportunity to say a few words. Too many things happened now, so let's go slowly. Where to start with? No, that's not the beginning. That's not the beginning. Let's start from the chief of staff, from his opinion, okay? When we are starting with the opinion of the army is the following. We need a lot of soldiers, many soldiers, and there are not enough. Recruiting in Israel is very problematic from two sides. One is that there are very big groups that are not being recruited, like Arabs, like Haredim. And so we, the Hesder yeshivas, are contributing part of the problem because we serve less than 3 years, okay? And most of us are very good soldiers, potential very good soldiers. I don't want to say all of us, but probably all of us. Okay, so but let's say most of us. There is a second problem, and that is that when the army checks how many soldiers started basic training and how many accomplished 3 years, there's a big fall for many reasons. Medical reasons, mentally, people that they're not actually serving the whole time, and that's a failure from the point of the army. But the bottom line is the army needs soldiers. That's one. B, the battlefield is changing. Today you don't only shoot and guns in the battlefield. Today the battlefield is somewhere in the office where you're sitting with a stick. Drones. Yeah, and drones are and especially intelligence, cyber, all kinds of things, missile, long distance missiles and whatever. And so it's not only physically, it's intellectually, and girls are not less than than boys. So therefore the army, in principle, wants as much as soldiers, as potential soldiers as possible, and therefore the army is recruiting girls and boys for security reasons. But it's not only security reasons. In Israel, the army is actually the melting pot. It's actually the place where you... So therefore, if you don't serve in the army, you have a disadvantage somehow. And especially, with high-level units. So therefore, being part of the melting pot, from the army point of view, is that girls and boys are actually should serve together in principle. Okay? Now this process took time because in the beginning most of the soldiers were only males. Girls were less recruited because conservative families didn't agree. So many girls, religious and conservative, and so only, let's say, a third of the girls, and most of them were secretaries, were low-level functions. But slowly, or maybe fast, they became part of the army, and the Supreme Court actually forces the army to let girls to go to be Air Force in the Air Force and be pilots, and slowly the process of more and more girls in more and more units of the army are integral parts. The army, okay, now that's something that happened until approximately 5 years ago, okay? What happened 5 years ago, soon. In the meantime, things also were changed in the religious society. And that is, in the beginning, most of the girls, as I said, didn't serve in the army or became secular. Slowly, more and more girls, religious girls, and started to be part of the army. In the beginning, as secondary missions, like teachers. The army in Israel is actually doing not only military things, it also have all kinds of civil functions. So therefore there were teachers and whatever, but slowly more and more religious girls became and are recruited in the army, and they say that there is a big escalation. That's one thing that's happened. Nobody exactly knows the numbers because it's very problematic to define who is a religious girl. In order, if you are talking about graduates of religious institutes, so it's not the real definition. So it's a little bit difficult. But I think everybody will agree that more and more girls are becoming part of the army, religious girls, but not only, and more girls in the entire society. So girls in the army is a fact. Another thing that happened, that the boys and the Zionist religious movement in general became more strict, more religious, more makpid. The Hesder yeshivot, the mechinot, whatever, everything became more important, and religion and halacha became more important. Where?
In what way?
In what way? From wearing tzitzis through learning Torah and observing the mitzvot, but regarding this issue, more and more are supporting a kind of a separation. Don't forget that it's 98 of the religious high schools are separated between boys and girls. That's something that's a new phenomenon. It happened in the last 3 decades. Before that, I studied until the 8th grade together with girls.
High school?
No, so high schools. I'm an exception that I went to for high school.
Something that looked
Yeah.
Do you see it as a positive?
No, that's not the issue. Okay, so therefore, so at least the approach towards separation became more active in various ways. Not in one way, but everybody went to the right. Okay, even the kibbutz dati. I mean, everybody went towards the right, and so therefore it has influence on the army. Okay, that's the second thing. The third thing is the third factor are the rabbis. From the beginning of the state of Israel, I really can't find a rabbi that will say girls in the army is lechatchila. The opinions are from the edge of saying it's yarig val yavor. I mean, it's the worst sin that is you should kill yourself and not be recruited into the army, towards accepting it, but in non-combat units, but I really can't mention even one rabbi that says that recruiting girls to the army is a lechatchila. What?
The army itself isn't lechatchila.
No. Even in the Zionist religious rabbis. No. I'm not talking about Haredim. I'm talking even
in general, having an army isn't lechatchila.
Yeah, why not? It's definitely it's lechatchila. It's lechatchila shelechatchila. It's mitzvah taseh of occupying and defending Eretz Israel, and no doubts about that. I mean, even the rabbis that say that the army is lechatchila is holy, yeah, and it's a religious mitzvah, and most of them, I really can't mention even one rabbi. There are rabbis that are known by saying as exceptions, yeah, but not in general. And until 2 or 3 years ago, most high schools for girls didn't let even all kinds of institutes that are preparing religious girls to serve in the army to meet graduates. I mean, that's the situation. But as I said, for many reasons, more and more girls are in the army now. Okay, so slowly, it became to a kind of a clash between the Zionist religious boys, I'm not talking about girls, and the army, because the army became more and more mixed, and the Zionist religious movement became more and more religious. So it was very close to a clash between the army and don't forget that there are many. The army was really was blessed by the Zionist religious movement in the last 2 decades, especially through the Mechinot. Many officers, many soldiers, very good soldiers and very good officers, but so the clash became more and more problematic. So approximately, I think it was 5 years ago, the army decided to try to shape and to design the situation, and it was called Pkudat Hashiluv Hara'ui. I mean, how to, not mixed, it's not, yeah, mixed. How to mix, or how to integrate. How to integrate boys and girls in the army. And it was with a lot of dialogues with rabbis, with the Zionist religious movement, with other groups. And actually the idea was, let's go, everybody should go as far as he's able in order to make a kind of a compromise, kind of a way where girls will serve in the army because it's part of the ideology of the secular society and the army needs it. Boys will serve in the army, there will be a kind of a separation. There will be also mixed units for soldiers and girls and boys that don't mind and even prefer. And so actually you can say that there were all kinds of various options that everybody can find himself, from being isolated like the Nachal Haredi, like the Haredim in special units, through separate units, and through very, very mixed units, the Air Force, the Mishmar HaGvul, and many other ideas. And everybody could, in Karakal, everybody could live with this, okay? And that's what happened. At the same time, as I said, there was something that is not really connected to the army, but things that happened in the Zionist religious movement, and that is that trying to convince girls not to serve in the army, to go to national service, or not to, or to let girls. I mean, it was a discussion, but internal discussion in the Zionist religious movement. What should girls do? And it's still, this argument still exists, okay? What happened in the next step was 2 things, and even 3 things, okay? Let's say it's 3 things. 1, the army changed the policy and changed the order. The order today is not hashiluv hara'ui, not integrating, but hashirut hameshutaf. Meshutaf means mixed. The army sees as a mission to try to mix the army as much as possible in every unit that it's possible, okay? And that makes that the army is checking now tanks, that boys and girls together, and the officer, what?
In the same tank?
In the same tank.
But that's not possible then it won't be possible for the team to...
Now you understand the clash, okay? The army is testing girls, integral units in Golani, and in there. The army is, the officer course is today, the training officers is completely mixed. I mean, in the same place you live, you work, and so that's actually causing, first of all, a situation where more and more religious officers and more religious soldiers cannot serve in those units, and the units are becoming, and the most problematic thing is officers, because the army says in the new order, the new pkudah, that soldiers will find a solution for every soldier. But an officer, once he's an officer, he cannot prefer to serve in this unit or this unit, not mixed acid. He has to do everything, and if not, he'll be fired. He'll be out of the army, and he must do everything. So therefore, that's actually is narrowing and closing the options of serving in the army for religious officers, and that's a big change. Now, and now something that you should understand about public disputes. Many things are being added to this issue. That means there are parts in the Zionist religious movement that actually say, and they're trying to convince. This morning I got a letter from a friend of Boaz. Boaz sent me a letter that his friend made a long list to prove that the army hates religious soldiers in principle. What is his proof? His proof is this new order, the fact that there was a dispute about beards in the army. And that's a complete proof that they are against religious. The fact that the chief of staff decided that you must be younger than 32 in order to be the commander of the battalion. So therefore, if they want to go, someone that wants to go for 2-3 years in yeshiva cannot climb because he'll get to this position older than 32. That's a proof that it's against religious, and a long list that everything is against religions. And the army decided the fact that one officer was accused of sexual abuse, it's against the religious, everything. So it's part of kind of ideology that, commentating this, and I want to emphasize again, I think it's a complete, it's some claims are really stupid. For instance, he writes there that the army is trying to convince, the army is establishing special separate units for religious girls. So that's a proof that he's against religious. I mean, really, but that has a dynamic by itself, yeah. It's something that is causing, and things when there's a public dispute, so many, it's getting full of dust, of dirt. Not only the core that is really a conversation between us and the army, but a lot of things are being added all around, and it's really a problem. I mean, it's a problem, and there were a lot of meetings with the chief of staff. I was part of some of them, and actually nothing was changed. Even the situation became worse. That's what caused last night, and that doesn't have any connection to Rav Levinstein. We'll come to him soon. Of very moderate rabbis. What? Bet Hillel, Gush rabbis. I was part of the people that wrote this letter. I didn't sign it because I don't like to be. I like to express my opinions by myself. So Hillel is controlling my Facebook. I don't know exactly what to do there. So I'm writing exactly what he wants. He's posting it, I already know how to post a post. That's a no. So I think I should be apprised about that. So I can do that by myself. So I want to write my opinion. I don't want to be, but if I'm only trying to answer how many phone calls did I get, even though that I didn't sign this letter in the last 24 hours from communication to be interviewed, I think it's more than 15. Every local and every national, and today I'll be on the news in the Arutz time. Today it's completely, I must say, in camera. I didn't go there. They came here, and with someone on a motorcycle. He put this kind of camera. He connected me to the ulpan, to the studio. I was asked, I was interviewed. I said Erev Tov, even though the sun was shining because it's going to be broadcast tonight. So I said Erev Tov. I was asked 3 minutes, the headlines, and it's there. I mean, it's unbelievable how things are being made now. So you didn't even feel that I'm not in the base midrash, okay? And that's the reason why I was 8 minutes late to the Shiur Klali. It was between 11 and 8 minutes, and etc. Okay. So this is one issue, and things are being now. This week there was a big explosion, and actually it's a good question. What to do now? What I do know, from one hand, we are really part of the army. We want to be, we are serving, we are, dedicating, we are ourselves to that. We are really very determined and supporting. And I never thought that I would find myself in the, not with the army, but actually kind of against the army. I mean, but it's not only me, it's many, that's a real situation where it's a clash. And nobody knows exactly where are we going now, because I hope that let's say that the extreme from both sides will not succeed. Let's speak about the moderate. What kind of a agreement, what kind of a way should the army do, especially when there are claims also that it's very bad for the girls, I mean physically, that they're being wounded, that they are injured, and that's actually it's also a problem from this point of view, but this is not my responsibility, even though I'm afraid that decisions are being made not because of security reasons or military reasons, but because of all kinds of other ideologies, and that's a real problem. Okay.
So that's only in combat.
What? We're talking about two things. One, combat physic units. I'm not talking about missiles, I'm not talking about officers, I'm not talking about intelligence, I'm not talking about all those things, even though they're, okay, maybe I'm not so satisfied, but this is, as I said, every side went as far as he can. I mean, but we're talking about combat units, and we're talking about the badechad, okay, the officers training, because this is actually one. Today, everything is mixed there, so therefore, if, for my opinion, a religious soldier cannot serve there, cannot be part of the course, k'tzinim, that's one thing. But it's not only that, it's actually shapes and designing the future army. Where are we going, okay? And that's, I never thought that we'll reach this point of really clash between the Zionist religious movement and the army. I really don't know where are we going, and so this is weekly. Okay. In the meantime, and with connection, but not direct connection. And when I'm analyzing, it's really a separate issue, but it was part of it. Someone smuggled, I can say, I don't know what word to use, a few shiurim, a few lectures of one of the head of Eli. Eli, as you know, is first of all, it's the first mechina, but it's not only the first. It's the role model. It's really the mechina. It's with a capital M. Yeah, that's really Eli, and he is one of the two. Rabbi Yuval Cherlow is one of the two head of this mechina, and some lectures of him actually found themselves to the public. And what he said there was really things that you can't, I'll say it very gently, you can't say them. One, because they are wrong. Two, because they are really, really hurting people. And three, because of the level of the claims. And he spoke about many things. One is, as I said before, that the army is actually, it's changing, it's trying to be a culture process, to conduct a culture process. It's not because of military. It's really the army is under the influence of the European Union and all the left wings, feminists, all the bad words that you can say. Okay, I don't know why feminist is a bad word, I must admit, but let's put it in commas. But and that's one thing. And then he spoke about the damage, the spiritual damage, that religious girls that are serving in the army are going over, and that he said sentence like they are being recruited as Jews, but they are leaving the army as non-Jews. He spoke in a very sexual terms, He said that girls in the army are against the girls' nature, that they should be mothers and not killers and whatever. I mean, he spoke in a very, and he said that no one of you will marry girls that were in the army. He made jokes out of them that when, I don't know how you say it in English, hasva'a, when you're trying to hide yourself, you paint your camouflage, okay? So actually they are preparing to the wedding, making, and really things, I don't want to criticize him. I did already, but I don't want more than that, okay? Now, I'll speak about myself. I found myself, and as a retaliation, the Ministry of Security, of Defense, announced last night that he should immediately quit, and if not, he's closing א-לים.
No,
okay?
He's closing the ההסדר ישיבת there. He can't close the מכינה.
No, he said, maybe he's closing something there. He's closing I don't know. Okay, doesn't matter. So now, people like me found themselves in a very, very, in a minefield, okay? But because standing in front of the army, I am in an argument with the army. I think the army is doing a wrong thing for the nation. I'm not talking about for the nation. It's really, it's a wrong policy. In the meantime, two things. One, I think that what Rabbi Yuval said is impossible, unacceptable. Two, that what the Ministry of Defense said is not legal even. He doesn't have the authority even to close, and I'm talking about freedom of expression and freedom of opinions and whatever. Even I always write many times that it's very easy to protect freedom of expression when you are protecting someone that says things that you agree with. But the real test and the real, if you want to check if you are manipulating freedom of expression, you should check if you agree to let someone else that you hate, that you think that what he says is outrageous or whatever, but he should get the right to say whatever he wants. I'm not talking about the borders. I'm talking even if they are very extreme, not crossing the lines, but even if they are really extreme. So what to do now? I don't want to protect things that Rabbi Yuval said. I want to protect his freedom of expression. I think that the Ministry of Defense is wrong, but I think the army is doing wrong things, and this is the big mess that is happening today. I think that, as far as I know, because we get a communication report, if I'm not talking about myself, but I'm talking about how many rabbis were on TV channels and on radios and the last 24 hours, and even in the next 24 hours, I think that never so many rabbis and so many leaders and so many officers and so many were interviewed, because it's real. Never. I can't see never such a clash that happened, because it's and I can feel it. I don't know exactly the numbers, but I can feel it in myself, because things are that's something that is really very difficult to conduct, because you want to be with the army. I really support the chief of staff, and I forgot to tell you that the most important thing, that in the meantime the army is shooting in Gaza, and they're rocketing. Gaza is rocketing Israel. I mean, we are in a war, and we are doing the war. We are, making this issue. So, and as I said, there are a few factors in this dispute, and not only that, and everyone agrees with this, is against this, supports this, says that even he's against this, but he wants to protect the right of this, and this is the real problem. Now, is it connected to a Jewish state? Definitely. Definitely it is, because first of all, I'll say that thing. This issue can be not connected to a Jewish state. Now, because in countries that the recruiting is not by law, you are volunteering, it's your job. So the army can say, these are my conditions. Do you want to join the Air Force or the Marines or whatever? Okay, this is the situation. It's mixed, boys and girls. You'll make your decision, and if you don't want to come, okay, that's okay. It's still problematic, because actually it's isolating groups being part of. You're right, but it's less problematic. But in Israel, where you are being recruited by law and everybody should serve in the army, I'm asking myself always as a rabbi, because I'm not a politicization. Okay, you are now the chief of staff, okay? And let's say that. You are the rabbi of the chief of staff, okay? That's better. And the chief of staff is telling you, I have a halachic problem. My halachic problem is the following. I need a lot of soldiers. 80% or 70% of the army feels and thinks that boys and girls should serve together, okay? Or at least that the girls should get all the opportunities like boys, and you cannot isolate them. 30% of the army, let's say, says that he cannot serve in those kinds of units. I need officers, and I cannot train officers, of this kind, of that kind, and what to do? Tell me what to do. If you're saying it's halachic wrong, it's wrong halachic, okay, so no mixed, but what will I do with the 70% that feels that this is the way to do? What will I do with the girls that actually demands that everything will be open for them, and etc., etc., etc. Yeah? And so, as I said before, what I wanted to teach...
What was Bad like before it was mixed?
Before, first of all, it wasn't mixed. When I was an officer, there was no girls in Bad Echad. There was a Bad Echad for boys and Bad Esrim, I think it was, for girls. Okay, there was a special officer course for girls. Now things were changed. Bad Esrim is closed. I think it was Esrim, I don't remember even. Is closed. Girls are doing, but until now, at least there were, let's say there are 3 battalions in Bad Echad, so 2 of them were separated and 1 of them was mixed. Okay, but now for many reasons, not only from ideological reasons, I can give you a tiny reason, but it's the commander of the mixed battalion is complaining that he will be always with lower grades, because there are things that physically the girls are in lower grades than the boys. That's nature. That's not connecting to any isolation or whatever. So he said it's not fair. So therefore, one of the solutions is to mix all of them, and they will be equal. You understand? So there are all kinds of all kinds of problems that once you are in the army, you understand them. Okay?
Is it not an issue of pikuach nefesh? I mean, like, you're putting these women into a situation where it's dangerous.
Who said? Who said that the woman cannot endanger the life? Like, why boys can endanger the life and girls?
You're saying that they're less able.
So as a chief of staff, I can say that okay, their missions will be, between the civil area towards the border, and they will not cross the borders. Okay, I have solutions, but it's a very funny situation where rabbis are giving advices to the chief of staff and actually blaming him. That's one of the, as I said before, I'll say it, I'll explain again. I said there is a core that is a real conversation, a real argue, but to this core, many things are being added. This is the nature of public discussions, that people, I'll say, sometimes are not wise enough, and sometimes have bad meanings. Adding to the real part of the real discussion, all kinds of excuses that are, like I said before, that the army hates religious soldiers or officers, and all kinds of proofs. And this is all, now I'm adding to that another thing. not many, a few rabbis are blaming the chief of staff that he prefers a mixed army on a secured army or an unfunctioning army. And he actually is abandoning the security of the IDF and the ability to function correctly in order to apply a feminist agenda. So, when I hear such a thing, I think I'll say it as gently as I can, it's against halacha. It's a lie, it's lashon hara, it's moshish shem ra. It's unbelievable that this kinds of accusation, rabbis that are served in the army for a few months, and maybe they're surgeons, maybe, okay, even majors, okay, are blaming that the chief of staff is actually doesn't care how, to fulfill his mission.
Why is it happening?
What?
Why is it happening?
Why is it happening? Because he thinks it's the right thing to do. Not because he thinks it's for security, not because it's not against security. He thinks that integrating girls as much as possible.
It's not a feminist agenda?
It is, but I'm not talking about if it's not a feminist agenda. Maybe it is a feminist agenda, but maybe it's the right thing to do. But it's not. The question is if he is preferring the feminist agenda on fulfilling his mission. That's crossing the lines. I mean, that's the fact that he has a feminist agenda. Okay, what can I do? He has a feminist agenda. I think even he doesn't have a feminist agenda. He has an agenda that I should have maximum, how do you say it? Gmishut, flexibility with maximum girls, boys, that I can function in the army. This is every CO is actually wants to have this flexibility. And if I was the chief of staff and without religious reason, I would have done the same. Not because I'm feminist, and I say again, so even if I were a feminist, that's not a bad thing. The question is, are you to blame the chief of staff that he prefers a feminist agenda and the security actually doesn't it gives it a lower place in his scale? That's unbelievable. I mean, to say such a thing, to say such an accusation, you have to prove it. You have to have any evidence.
Is it better that you have a mixed battalion now? I mean,
from his point of view, the answer is yes, because I have many more. So first of all, I'm checking. He's saying I'm checking now. Okay. Now I'm checking what will be the meaning of being mixed tanks. Okay. And if the answer will be it's a very good idea, so I'll have double potential soldiers to serve in tanks. Okay, so this is his point of view, and not that only. I'll have flexibility. Okay, so girls, I could play with the source of power that I have. Okay,
having separate girls and boys would be.
It's less flexibility. I'm not saying it's bad.
What's the difference between having a mixed tank?
Because let's say that the driver broke his leg. Now I have to find a female or a male, or I can bring the first one that I have. Okay, that's now. I don't want to protect him. I don't want to defend him. But but ask yourself, if you were a chief of staff, if you would not prefer to have this advantage. We are trying to convince him. Maybe you're right, but this process has also disadvantages. You'll lose us. Okay? And now you'll have to decide. Maybe the best thing to do is to go back to the first order, what he called Kudat HaShiluv HaRa'ui, and let's say in every unit there'll be 2/3 separated, 1/3 mixed, and for instance, or all kinds of other ways to find a compromise, a thing that everyone can live with that. Today, the situation is that we can't live with it. Okay?
Can you explain what the exact halachic problems are with the situation today?
Yeah, living together. It's in the same. Being in intimate living together is more than yichud. It's not only the yichud. It's, for instance, if you have to practice injured if someone got injured. So soldiers will take girls on their shoulders and the opposite. Being in 24 hours, 72 hours ambush in a mixed tank, where you have to to go to the toilet in the tank itself. Do I have to bring halachic reasons that it's problematic? Yeah, you understand? I'm talking about the clash is about intimate physics.
But in Ba'ad Echad, you don't have that.
Yeah, exactly. You do, because you are together in the tents, in the soldier, in the battlefield, in the training field. I mean, you are schlepping each other. Definitely, you live together. If you are in the same unit, you live together. Okay, so therefore, separate rooms, yes, but not separate dormitories. Okay, so now I want to emphasize, and that's also important. It's not that I'm worried what will happen. I trust you. I think that if you'll be in Ba'ad Echad, and if you will live with girls I don't have any doubts that you will not do anything that is a sin. It's very difficult for us to explain it, because it's not a result as we're not threat, we're not in fear, this is not the issue. The issue is it's the wrong way, it's against a holy machane. Yeah, that's the idea. But it's very, for secular soldiers and secular officers and secular people, it's very difficult to understand that tzniut is a positive issue. It's not a consequence of threat, of a slippery slope, all those issues. It's the idea that girls and boys should not have intimate relationship physically except marriage. Except marriage. That is part of our culture, part of halacha, and this is and it's very problematic. I mean, I do understand that it's very problematic, but okay, so let's say they don't understand, but they can understand that our opinion is, and as I say, even very moderate rabbis said this is crossing the red lines, and therefore it's a kind of a clash that nobody wants it, but someone will have to make decisions how to exactly to solve it, because it will start with the more extreme side of us that will give orders to their soldiers not to refuse and to not to obey those commands. Now, some of them will listen to the rabbi, some of them will not. For instance, that's the first commander of the battalion, of the mixed battalion, is a graduate of Eli. Okay, so that's so things are much. When you sit in the Beis Midrash, you are analyzing, but actually everyone is mixed somewhere and has some factors of this and some factors of that, and so things are really. But I think that we reached a point that it's like saying that the food in the army will not be kosher, and trying to force soldiers to serve in this kind of the army. I mean, it's very close to that. I'm not sure it's close. It's there.
What do you think is going to happen?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think that I don't know, because, as you know, the army cannot make concessions. For instance, we cannot make concessions. So I don't know. I hope that everyone will, because the army is now in a process, check and balance. How do you say check and balance? I have the hunch that the army will understand that they went too far. They went too far, and at least going back to the idea that in those kinds of units there'll be an option of separation, but it will not solve the problem. I want again to say, because the army can do it and very easy, but the question is, after you are being ordinated as a officer, then the order today, the army rules are saying that an officer cannot refuse to be commander in a mixed unit. I mean, once he was when he was being, he's in office, or at least, let's say he can refuse, but then he'll have less options of promotions. He will always find himself saying to the first option, let's say, I don't know what I would have done. Let's say we have 5 majors, okay? And now there's the opportunity to get the best battalion that is mixed, or are there 4 jobs that are not so attractive, okay? And I'm the only religious one. Would I say, or should I say, or will I say, you know what, I can't, so therefore I'll go to a secondary option, or I want to be the best. I want to get the best option, and I want to, because it's not only the question if I'll be commander of this battalion or another one, it's the question what will be my next job, and how will I climb up in the all kinds of promotions. So it's very difficult. Now, I don't know what will be the I don't know.
Politically, there's mashber koalitiani.
No, there's no. Politically, first of all, what?
I don't know.
Everyone is right, he's tweeting this and he's saying that, but that's mashber koalitiani. This is, I don't know. Let's put the politician out of the story, and let's ask ourselves, now let's accomplish and say, okay, after understanding the situation, okay, now, as I said, I'm the rabbi of the chief of staff. No, I'm not. I mean, let's think about it, okay? And he's asking me, okay, what should I do according to halacha? I will obey I'm chozer b'tshuva, I'm doing everything according to halacha. What should I do? Should I ignore the fact that 70% of the army supports it? Should I close options between in front of girls? Should I, should I lose so many soldiers? From the other hand, I want you in the army. Don't listen, he'll ask me, don't listen to all those bad people that say that I hate religious people. The opposite is the truth. I think they are the best soldiers and commanders and officers, and I want them in the army. Now tell me what to do. When you're thinking not like a head of a tribe, or as a minority, but this shiur that we are actually conducting is trying to educate ourselves to feel as in a state way of thinking, and as an understanding that let's say, I'll say more than that. Let's say that 70% of the army are religious, okay, and 30% of secular girls and religious girls want to serve in the best units. Now tell me, as a rabbi, what to do.
Do the girls actually want this?
There are. You can't speak.
Like
no, you cannot. Okay, so it's elite. So
I'm just saying, is it like the?
I don't know.
What percentage of the girls actually want these changes?
Nobody knows. But why does it matter? What does it matter? Let's say there are only.
What percentage of anyone wants these changes?
Let's no, because the idea maybe only 100 girls wants to serve in the army. Maybe okay, but thousands of girls want that these 100 can do whatever they want.
I'm asking, like, have they done any skarim on like?
No doubts about that. No doubts about that.
People want it.
Yeah, definitely.
You would say 70%.
If 70%, most of you can. I didn't say that all of the secular supported, and I didn't say all the religious are rejecting it. But I think that nobody will argue. No one would argue that a very high, I don't want to say even numbers, okay, many dozens of percentage in the secular, and it's not only girls, it's also boys. I mean, this is, you cannot deny the fact that I don't know, again, let's say it's a minority, okay, but let's say it's 45, but it's not less than 45%. I mean, I think it's the majority, okay? not including the Arabs, not including the Haredim, because they are against the army bichlal. Okay, so this is nothing. Agav, by the way, this is another bad consequence to the army, because when the Haredim are hiding and they're behind us, and they say, if the Zionist religious are against, so therefore, how can we come to the army? Okay, so, and that's also one of the wrong things. The army is trying to recruit as many Haredim as possible, but actually it's cutting the branch by making the situation impossible. So nobody knows. It's really a problem. It's a problem.
Would it be acceptable to you to have like separate Dati units that aren't mixed? If I'm asking, like, if you have to protect Chilonim's halachic rights. I
don't know because of two reasons. First of all, I think that putting people in a ghetto is a problem. It's not acceptable. The religion, okay. But second, and then I'll say something from the democracy point of view. It's very dangerous for democracy to have monolith units. Religious units in the army is a danger. Okay? In principle. And it's not only religious. I mean, even kibbutzim unit is dangerous, and you cannot. Armies should be mixed.
Isn't that what Hesder?
What? Hesder it's been together only in the beginning. Then they are and they're very small units. We are talking about. I mean, they're very small, and they're being integrated and reserved and whatever. Okay, and Hesder can be a danger, but it's not actually in so many units and in so many. Okay. But if it was that, you were right. I'm not denying the danger. But third, as I said, I think that this year is trying to train you, to educate you, to think in long distance. Separate units are a solution for soldiers, not for officers. I mean, you understand? So therefore, we should think for long distance. If you're asking, can we find a ghetto where religious soldiers can serve? Okay. But, as I said, one, ma pitom. Why should I go into a ghetto? Okay? Second, it's dangerous for the army. And third, the army will lose all that wide range of officers that can be the next, level.
The main part of my question was, how much responsibility do we have to make sure the Chilonim are following halakha?
No, we don't.
Like, we make sure they eat food that's kosher in the army. So,
yeah, but again, the idea of the food is kosher in the army it has many reasons. But the main reason is that everyone can serve everywhere in the army. Okay, that's the idea. I mean, and that will not be starting to build a separate army with units, Bet Hillel units and Tzohar units, and or even kibbutzim or left wing in the same thing. I think that will be very dangerous for the army to make units of left wings soldiers. I mean. Merits, merits to put them somewhere there. I mean, it's dangerous exactly like to put us as a special group. Now, we should think, I'm saying again, we should think as a state, not as a tribe, or not as a sector, not as a part. We should think, and actually, we should think what should be the right thing to do, and with keeping and giving everyone as much as possible, the girls, the religious soldiers, thinking about officers, thinking about the future, thinking about building the army, and maybe, I mean, personally, I feel that the right thing to do is to go back to the Kudat HaShiluv HaRa'ui, that we made a lot of concessions and compromises even then. But this is the way to I think that the army made a mistake by going further on, and therefore it caused a lot of explosion. And many times you cannot go back to where you want. Then things will be. So it's a real issue, and the question is also, we don't know. Don't forget that most of this conversation is happening outside of the army. The question is, what actually will religious soldiers and officers do when they'll get in order to do things that are inappropriate? Okay, will they be brave enough to say, we're not doing that? Will they say, I don't want to lose my place in the officer training, so therefore I'll, do something wrong halachically or whatever? That's the real question. What will happen? And what will happen with all the dust and the noise that is around those issues that everybody is trying to manipulate and to do as much as he can to reach a kind of a victory for other reasons, not only for solving this problem. I don't know. I really don't know. We are really, as I said, as I started, that we are dealing this week with something that is happening now. I don't know what will be the situation next week, but now it's here.
You think it's so much different than like some of the other stuff that's been going on? We've heard about this before, but you're saying now it's...
No, I'm not sure. We didn't. I don't think we heard about it before.
The whole tank thing was in
what?
October, November, they started talking about the tanks. And,
yeah, beseder, but now it's, things are... October, November is not so... It's not history. It's a present. It's not the past. Yeah, they started... and the problem is that you really can understand all sides. There's no bad people here. There are only good people, but...
is the SOAR taking a stance?
No. I mean, not as a organization. The head of SOAR, Rav Stav, Rav Rafi, actually did make many announcements in the last 24 hours. Rav Stav, I think, was even Rav Feuchten signed the letter to the religious soldier, but I'm also one of the heads of Torah. I didn't sign the letter, but I do agree with the idea that something should stop here because we are really rolling down, and it's very problematic. Okay.